I heard her then. You said then you have been involved in some of the pilot work over the last 3 years, and I think you were in Mrs. Braille's class and some others. Can you just briefly talk about those?
Yeah, I was actually in Mrs. Braille's class, maybe freshman or sophomore year, when she first decided to switch over to this mastery of the objectives, and at that point it was just really annoying. I was like, what is this mastery? What are you talking about? I just why are you changing everything? And but I mean, once it was in place, it actually started, flowing a lot better. I wasn't as concerned about, like, I have a 0.4% and I need like a 90.5%. It was more about have I actually learned the material. And then I've also been a part of the music department, got together and decided that they were going to switch over to this. And that has also been working very well because they all got together, they all established what the 5 was, they established how they're going to reassess and their reassessment policies. So right now, I know it works really well for music and languages especially, but I think it will be able to apply to the other subjects. But I'm able to go in and play a scale for my teacher, and if I mess up on it, it's not like that's my last shot. I can go play it again, I can practice, I can become better, and that really is how it's been working with the Spanish and music department. So I'd say the uniformity is the key to the success for the reassessment, and so far we haven't had the uniformity, so maybe that's why it's been a little wishy-washy in the school so far. But if you look at the music and Spanish departments, they're doing it pretty successfully right now. So.
Last question I have for you as a follow-up. Where are you going to school next year?
I'm going to Boston College.
All right.
So.
Thanks,
Do you
Kayla.
guys have any questions for me right now? Just really quick.
And again, we'll ask you to use the microphone just so that we can get it on the recording. So if you got a question, I think I've got a wireless that I can run to you quick, and you can. And everyone who's not here has the benefit of having been here.
Yeah.
Hello, thank you for speaking to us.
Hi.
Very specifically, talking, the biggest question I think in my mind is the term assessment and reassessment.
Mm-hmm.
When this was introduced to you and the assessment methods that were described earlier, was it clear to you at every point in time when you were being assessed?
When the Spanish department first implemented this, I wouldn't really say that they were assessing me in different ways. That's the only part that I haven't seen yet. I haven't seen obviously they assess me within the tests and the projects and the papers, but it's in terms of assessing me through discussion and things like that. I mean, we get participation points, but that was also points. But I guess that I haven't really seen too much of that yet. But it was very clear when they were assessing me. I mean, did I kind of answer your question?
Well, and again, my concern from this perspective is that as you move to this new methodology, that children who take tests and don't like to take tests or not good at it tend to freeze. Okay? Is this going to come into a situation where what may seem to be a casual conversation of seeking information or what was done wrong, is that going to be a hidden assessment?
No, I don't.
I'm not asking you to answer that, I'm asking him to answer that.
Okay.
So that is just a general concern, because the fears and the phobias that you have through a learning process tend to shift because of change.
Yeah.
And it's no longer just, did I do good on the test? Did I say the right thing to my teacher?
And I'll just respond real quick. We don't want to play the gotcha game. We want students to know if they're going to be assessed verbally, if they're going to be assessed through class discussion, etc. And that comes back to that clear learning targets, clear activities all the way along the way, and then a very clear assessment structure that not only the student knows about, but the parents are engaged in, and everybody who's surrounding that student. I can't remember who else had their hand up. There we go.
I just, 1 second, want to touch on learning targets. So far, I've really liked learning targets just because it took away the game of, like Mr. Hay said, you go into a test and you think you've studied the material so well, because, I mean, I would study for every single test, and I would just come out feeling like I had just failed because I don't know if I just didn't study the right material or what it was, but so far I really like the learning targets because you know exactly what you need to be learning in class, and it just clearly outlines what you should know for the test, and then you're tested on exactly that material, and you know that if you don't know one learning target that you're not going to do well on it. And so far that's been the best because everything lines up a lot clearer than it has in the past. So I feel like it takes out some of the subjectivity of like teachers saying like, well, I told you about that, like I told you should know that like 2 weeks ago, and you're like, well, I don't remember that at all. It takes out that part, so I like that.
Hi, Kayla. Thank you very much for talking to us, and congratulations on Boston College.
Thank you.
Now, you sound like an extremely conscientious student, so this may not have happened to you. It doesn't sound like you would get a B in Spanish. But let's assume that you did, and you still studied for that test, worked really hard for that B, yet you were not allowed to reassess according to the reassessment criteria, yet your buddy who didn't study for the test got a D, got to reassess, and then outscored you and got an A. And how would you feel about that?
Yeah, exactly. That frustrated me so much in Spanish class. That was probably the #1 thing that I did not like about the reassessment. But the main reason why the bar, let's say a student got a 4, they couldn't reassess. The main reason for that is because it was so time consuming to reassess, and it was just the logistics of actually everyone being able to reassess. And I think, I don't know if the Spanish department is revising this, but I think next year, I mean, in orchestra, I can reassess on anything. If I get a B, I can reassess and I can get an A. So I think with having this uniformity and making it a lot more streamlined, that it'll be more efficient next year. So my hope is that all departments allow students to reassess no matter what grade they get. Because to me, if this is all about mastery of the subject and the student wants to go for that mastery, then why shouldn't you let them? And that used to bug me a lot. But I think, I'm hoping that the departments will get rid of that ledger. I don't know if Mr. Hay knows more about their plans.
Yes, that's what we heard loud and clear the last 2 days. The #1 frustration of the students, we had more than 40 of them in the room, was exactly that. So thank you for asking the question. We know that that's a practice that needs to go away, and we have the ability through creating some uniformity to do that so that students are able to reassess on every target which they haven't mastered. So we don't want to put the students who did well at a disadvantage. And again, I know that that's not happening right now. Right now we have this flawed process that Kayla described, and we need to move to a uniform process that ensures that each and every one of our kids has the ability to achieve that mastery.
I have a question
All right, we're going to do one more because Kayla's on the time frame here.
for anybody. If my daughter this past year got like a 3.6 on a test, or this, what do you call them? They're not
Assessments.
assessments. She couldn't reassess, but someone else could. But it wasn't, so it affected her this year.
Right, and if you've got a specific situation, that's where I want you to pick up the phone and call me. Because we know we've got misaligned practice, and I don't want your kid to